Hey traders, this is Ron Haight. Hope you guys had a fantastic day today. As always, everything in this presentation is for educational purposes only. We'll kick off here with the Dow. All the markets were up today. They gapped higher. The Dow finished higher by 1.42%. A little bit of pickup in volume. Target, all-time closing highs back on 723, which was 272.63. And that's what it's going to look like across the board here on the majors. If we look at the SPY, I talked about yesterday how it closed a couple pennies above the 50-day, but the others didn't. Well, that all changed today. Now, there is this big long tail down here. I think that is a bad tick inside Thinkorswim. The other indexes did not exhibit that same price action. So, but regardless, closing near the highs of the day, target 726, closing high of 302.01 on SPY. The Qs up 1.83%. Nice big move. They popped above the previous highs today, closing in the upper end of the day. Target, all-time highs. You get the idea. If we look at the IWM, they had a nice move, 1.86%. But guess what happened? We got near the 50-day, and it was like an allergic reaction. It just finished way back down here. So even though we had the pickup in volume, these guys couldn't even get above the 50-day, and they're still caught in this trading range and well off the all-time high set a year ago. If we look at SMH, do you remember I said to you guys yesterday, we closed the highs of the day and broke out above these previous resistance levels, these previous highs. Well, today we gapped way up there. Target back up to 724, 123, still about $3 higher. And transports had a nice day too, up 2.59%. They're going to go back to their recent highs as a technical target. Across the board, they're breaking out. The majors, the SPY, the diamonds, and the Qs look the best, as well as SMH. So bulls now have the edge on the daily chart. If we take a look at Amazon, was up 2.23% today, gapped higher, closed practically at the highs of the day, and it took out the previous horizontal resistance. So that area around 1835 or so, 1830 was acting as a reversal point. Well, we blew that out. We get above the 50-day, then back up here towards the all-time highs, up above 2000. Google was another stock, had a nice day today, 2.53%, also took out the previous highs. Target back up here towards 1250, so about maybe $38 higher than the all-time highs back at May. Again, these are upside technical targets. If we were to use Google as an example, and let's say this was a one-day wonder, and the market just rolls right back over, on Google, you'd watch the 50-day. If I go back to the S&P, we'd watch these lows. So everything I've been talking about in the previous videos holds for support levels. In the majors, it's probably going to be those lows. If you're following individual stocks, well, look at the 50-day here for an example on Google. And if we use Amazon, I would watch these shelf lows here at 1750, then 1700. But you guys pretty much get that from doing all these videos, so I hope you're in good shape there. Now let's talk about metals and miners. I had a question on them. With the markets up, bonds down, gold, silver up. Gold was down 2.4% today. Pretty good volume, but it did not even close below the 20-day moving average in orange. Didn't even get there. It dipped below it, but didn't close there. If the 20-day is closed below on an end-of-day basis, while it's not perfect like it was over here when we got below it, it was followed by bullish engulfing, and then off we went, right? If we get below it, technically, bears get the edge, target 50-day. We lose the 50-day SMA, that institutional moving average, in orange, then the bulls have lost all their edge on the daily chart. If we take a look at silver, down 5% today, we actually have what you could call almost like an island reversal. You have a gap up and now a gap down. There's unfilled price action. It's not much, right? But there's big volume today. Watch the 50-day. Silver hasn't closed below the 50-day since July, right before that big breakout. We get below the 20-day in red, then we go to the 50-day. So watch that red line, 20-day EMA as support. As of right now, daily chart on silver is still bullish, but if I was trading silver, SLV, down 5%, big volume, close near the lows of the day, I might want to consider maybe even taking some profits at this point. Below the red line, though, that would be bad news for the bulls. If we take a look at the silver miners, SIL, down 4.56%. The 20-day didn't really work that well, so maybe we use something like a 50-day, but hey, it's still above the 20-day. Daily chart's still bullish on SIL. We do GDX, the gold miners, down 5.3%. The 20-day closed at 29.32. We're at 29.31, a lousy penny below. Here too, it's gotten below and hasn't worked that well. Maybe the 50-day would be a better line in the sand to see if it's bullish or bearish. But maybe not a bad idea to consider some short-term profits or hedging just because volume did pick up today. GDXJ, the junior miners, we haven't looked at these guys in a while. Once they got above their 50-day back in June, 31 bucks, back tested it about a week later at 30, and then off to the races, 40% or so move. Today below the red line. So if I zoom in here, we got below the red line here and here, so it's not working that well. I would go to the orange, then go to the 50-day. I would consider that as an end-of-day trailing stop. How about retailers? I want to take a look here because these guys are on my watch list. I want to keep close tabs on them because they've been beaten down so much. We talked about Nordstrom's. It had the gap up, then it went back down. But if we zoom in here, it just closed above the previous high. That was the first sign that something might be developing here. We also have a little bit of a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, inverted head and shoulders pattern. Could be interesting. Right now, I would consider a 20-day EMA in red as an end-of-day trailing stop. Immediate target, it's only about $2 higher. But these dual highs where we finished up and then opened and reversed lower, that is about $30.50. Plus you have this one around, excuse me, not 30.50, 32.50 or so. You have one at 33, one at 34. The moment the first one falls, I think a gap fill is probably going to be the more high profile target. So Nordstrom's looking interesting today. How about American Eagle? Ticker symbol AEO. I talked about this a few days ago, 2 days ago. We had the big gap down, right? This could be that watershed event where it just gaps lower and we actually put in a hammer. Today, holy mackerel, gap fill, one day. So all that bad news was taken right off the table. I would still want it to get above the 50-day. If that happens, then maybe this one's back in business. How about Macy's? Had a little pop today, but it's still not even above the red line. This would be the weakest of the three I spoke about so far between Nordstrom's and American Eagle. We go to Kohl's, sort of acting like Macy's, but man, there seems to be somebody coming in here around 44, 45 bucks and putting a floor in this stock. And now it's just inching its way upward. It's not above the 50-day just yet. If it can get above there, then you have this little bit of resistance, 51, and then back up here. But I'll keep an eye on Kohl's. Urban Outfitters up 9% today. This one might arguably look the best. It just cleared all multi-month horizontal resistance. And there's been a lot of volume coming in. So the black bars are tall, well taller than the red bars. Black bars up days, red bars down days. By clearing this, I mean, there's an unfilled gap at 27, 10% higher, and then back up into this area towards 30 would be technical targets. Here's Michael's Stores, another big move, 14%. It only moved 89 cents, but it's a $7 stock. This thing's been in a world of hurt. You go back a year ago, it was at 17, then it just keeps coming lower. But this is the first time we've seen back-to-back massive up volume bars in over a year. This, to me, looks like a trend change. By closing above the 50-day, gap fill target 850, then up here at 9, another gap fill at 950, another gap fill at 1050. You get the idea. I would consider a 20-day EMA here as a potential end-of-day trailing stop. Here's Signet Jewelers. It was funny. It was either on TV or I was reading an article somewhere. They were talking about how bad the jewelry price, the diamond prices have been, etc., and it's just looking awful. And I was thinking, I don't know that I've ever traded Signet, but it came up on my search today because it was up 26%. I'm like, how funny is that? All this negative, well, the negative article I was reading, it was very, I would say it was pretty high profile. If it was on TV, definitely, but if it was reading an article, it probably would have been at Zero Hedge or something. Anyway, once it hits mainstream, what happens? The stock gaps up. Now, before I would want to be bullish on Signet from a technical perspective, we need to get above the orange line, the 50-day institutional moving average. It acts as resistance here, so that's the area I want to get above. Once it breaks the 50-day, there's a little bit, I would say, of overhead supply around 18, but then it's up here to 22.50 and then back up here towards 27. So keep an eye on that one. And last but not least, one stock that was bearish today which was Match Group, down 4.5%. It's still near its highs, but here's the thing. Big volume, gap up, close lower. We just bearish engulfed 2/3 of a month of data, at least a half month's worth of data in price movement in one day. This tells me that somewhere up here, a few people are not willing to buy. If this thing cracks the 50-day, which seems to have been sort of decent support in here, this could be the end of the trend for Match right now. So below the 50-day, the bulls will lose their edge. But if you were trading a stock like this, pretend it's XYZ stock, this puts you on notice. Gap higher, close lower, big spike in volume, bearish engulf the previous 3 weeks. not a good sign for the bulls. That is it. Wish you guys all the best, a fantastic Friday and a great weekend ahead. I'll be back with you on Sunday. See you later.